out. It's also windy out there, and this is a wet snow. You'll notice that temperatures, most locations, are above freezing. Now, this is a typical snowstorm in April. If you get snow in April, temperatures usually, of course, not going to be that cold, especially in the middle of the day with that April sun angle. It's going to be melting it in some spots as quickly as it's falling. But where you do get accumulation with a temperature slightly above freezing or right around freezing, it's a heavy wet snow. If you want to avoid shoveling it, that might be a good idea. This is really hard snow to shovel, and it's going to make it very slick on the roadways. Let's get away from our storm and...
Inside your walls is a highway for bugs.
When you're away from your television, the Weather Channel forecast is also available from the following. The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Jill Brown here in the Weather Channel studio. My director is Michelle Sislow, and everyone here has been looking forward to spring. It's been a tough spring in the east, that's for sure. So far, anyway, but we think we can improve on that. Look at these lows from this morning. 29 in Nashville. Augusta's not on this map, but I think it was 28 degrees, a record low, and folks out there for the practice rounds probably wondering what in the heck's going on here. Well, we have a big trough of low pressure in the east. That's the way it's been most of the winter. That's why it's been so cool here. While in the west, these morning lows were pretty nice, 15 to 20 degrees warmer than normal, and that could mean record highs for this afternoon. We'll be watching for that. In the east, as I mentioned, here you go. These are the record lows. Cincinnati was 23. There's Augusta, 28. And Columbia, South Carolina, 30 degrees, tying the record. You know, usually for the Masters, they're working overtime trying to keep all the flowers from blooming early. I think this year that was not the problem. But we think things are about to change. Our trough is lifting out. We've seen little disturbances, one after another, kind of rotate around the southern edge of that trough. The last in the list is doing that at this point, and that's our storm that's now in the northeast. That's moving out. Meanwhile, our ridge of high pressure that was in the west over the weekend provided terrific Easter weather. It's in the plains today. That's why it's going to be so warm here. And as that moves eastward, we'll get the warm-up all the way up into areas that are in the 30s with snow today. Hopefully it'll be in the 50s, maybe even 60s over the weekend. So that snow will be melting very quickly. And, of course, then the next trough comes in. So it's going to be a warm-up, then a cool-down. Typical spring weather. Friday, perhaps our best day here in the east, 60s and 70s, and look at all those 80s, maybe on up to Newport News, Virginia, you could hit the 80-degree mark. Meanwhile, 30s and 40s, we'll start trying to get back into the picture, and we will see the next cool down, so don't get too used to it. Right now, on our map, we have our snowstorm in the northeast, and we have this front in the west. Now, the atmosphere is pretty dry, so there's not really much rain with it yet, but it will mean a change in temperatures. Again, it's kind of pushing that warm air eastward. We zero in on our last in the list, maybe, of winter storms. Our snow continues today in parts of Maine and New Hampshire, and there's still a little bit here in southern New England, not to mention western Pennsylvania into West Virginia. The biggest amounts, the heaviest snow, was really from southern New Hampshire down into Rhode Island and Connecticut, and even Long Island had at least one report of over a foot of snow. Take a look at this. April snow and almost 2 feet. That's pretty unusual, and this was enough to give us record for the season in many locations. We've had 21 locations this winter report record snowfall. Quite a winter it's been, and we're not finished. We still today will continue to pile up heavy snow, perhaps more than a foot in parts of Maine and even into northern New Hampshire. I tell you, if you have the weekend to get up and do a little bit of skiing, that sounds like a great idea. Matter of fact, forget the weekend, go today. As soon as that snow tapers off, remember the road.
The storm that dumped heavy snow across the Northeast is moving out quickly, and the snowbanks won't last long. We'll have the latest on the springtime nor'easter
and the above-average temperatures in parts of the West as the season continues to deliver surprises. WeatherScope is next.
For a scope of coverage you won't find anywhere else, this is WeatherScope this afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us. I'm Janine Diadamo alongside Bill Keneally, and we're tracking our winter storm as it tends to wind its way to the Northeast. Some of the snows are lightening up, thankfully, around southern New England.
And just a staggering amount of snow fell this winter. That's a no-brainer, but I mean, the numbers are just staggering. Something in the order of 140 inches now at the Blue Hills Observatory south of Boston.
We have a list about 22 cities long of cities that have broken their all-time seasonal snowfall records.
And hopefully we will not add to it from here on out. Portland, Maine, we had some pretty heavy snowfall today. And again, the Portland area continues to get snow. 34 degrees right now and snowing in Portland. By the way, we're going to have pictures out of the Portland area coming up. How about the other areas that just got clocked? Worcester, Mass, 14 inches of snow. Very pretty scenery, yes it is, but I'm sure the travel was a nightmare earlier. Kids were off from school. Looks like Santa Claus up there on the monument. And downtown Worcester, just a winter wonderland. Heavy, heavy wet snow. New York City, thankfully a much lighter snowfall today. We did see some snow into the early morning hours. It did mix over with rain though. And look at those ardent joggers out there in the park. Now JFK had about 4 inches, but out there by Tavern on the Green, about a ½ inch fell. And as you can see, it did not deter springtime as far as the flowers were concerned. Now the heaviest snows fell east of here, obviously. Bridgeport, Connecticut, reportedly 7.9 inches of snow fell, a new season record, up over 6 feet, something ridiculous like that. And how about Norwich, Connecticut, picking up 14 inches, and Worcester, Mass, we mentioned 14 inches also. West Townsend, Mass, that is up on the Mohawk Trail, about 19 inches right there off of Route 2 and up into New Hampshire, and also down in northwest Rhode Island. Just an incredible heavy wet snowfall, 21 inches in both locations, and as we have mentioned, just records, a slew of them going by the wayside. The newer ones, including Worcester, now up to about 128 inches or so. And also, I think Hartford came in today. New York City, an ongoing record, pushing 80 inches of snow for the winter. All right, let's show you what's happening. I thought we had that northeastern picture. I wonder what happened to our high pressure area up over the, okay, there you go, shortly. First of all, though, you have to endure, thank you, Janine, the after effects of this departing low pressure area. And once again, the snows continue. Just a classic looking low pressure. You can see there's a center to it, almost an eye, if you will, an area where the wind actually is sinking air. That's a warming process, hence we have the lack of cloud cover. That's starting to pull away. Still some bit of a trough out here causing some rain showers earlier in Washington. Primarily, though, it has been snowfall. Still pretty heavy snowfall showing up from Sugarloaf in Maine down to about Sebago Lake. Then also up around the Caribou-Holton area, just getting plastered. Heavy snow falling at the rate of 1 inch per hour. There is some rain mixed in around Boston, and still some plumes of snow around the eastern Finger Lakes area. Boston, once again, we continue to see the rain and snow mixed down around the Southeast Expressway. Shouldn't be too much more of accumulating snow. 36 now, 47, had some breaks in the cloud cover, and a much better day coming up tomorrow for New York.
Well, this has been a tough...
The storm that dumped heavy snow across the Northeast is moving out quickly, and the snowbanks won't last long. We'll have the latest on the springtime nor'easter.
And the above-average temperatures in parts of the West as the season continues to deliver surprises. WeatherScope is next.
For a scope of coverage you won't find anywhere else, this is WeatherScope this afternoon.
Here it is April, and we're still talking about snow up to your knees. Hi, I'm Janetta Jones.
And I'm Dan Atkinson. The nor'easter we've been covering is moving out, and the spring thaw is underway again across much of the Northeast. The brunt of the storm has moved into northern New England. This is Portland, Maine, where it's been snowing most of the day. This heavy, wet snow will be falling until late evening when it will begin tapering off. Kids in Portland better enjoy this snow now. It'll melt quickly with a high tomorrow in the mid-40s. Some of the heaviest snow fell in the area around Worcester, Massachusetts. That's about 45 miles west of Boston. People in Worcester can now say they've lived through the snowiest winter season on record. More than a foot of snow fell during this storm. That was enough to eclipse the season record of 120 inches set 3 years ago. And this storm also took a wintry swipe at New York City. Snowfall amounts vary from less than an inch in Central Park to 4 inches at Kennedy Airport to more than a foot on parts of Long Island. This was a picture about noon yesterday when the snow started, but by early this morning it had changed to a rain-snow mix, but no further accumulation. And taking a look at the current radar and satellite composite from the Northeast, you can see there is still quite a large area experiencing precipitation in New England and on down into Pennsylvania as a result of the storm, which is now centered in the Bay of Maine and producing snow over most of the area of New England except along coastal sections. Boston, for instance, 37 degrees now, and you have rain instead of snow. It continues to snow lightly at Worcester, Massachusetts. Portland and Brunswick, Maine, you have moderate snow falling. And down in parts of back into Pennsylvania, there's still some snow being reported at Bradford at this hour. Taking a look at the radar, or the snow history, I should say, since Monday night, these are the accumulations across the Northeast. And the heaviest amounts, as you see, 1 foot or more indicated by the white area over southern New Hampshire and eastern Massachusetts back down into northern Rhode Island and eastern Connecticut, even some spots in eastern Long Island which had a foot or more of snow. And the snow continues to fall. There is for parts of Massachusetts, not Massachusetts, but for northern Maine, a winter storm warning continues in effect tonight as the snow will continue to fall. That low pressure center continues to move only slowly. By tomorrow, it should be only to the northeast of Maine, continuing to produce some lingering snow showers over the northeastern part of the country. And there will be back into the southwest some rain beginning tomorrow as a result of an approaching warm front in the wake of...
Beach in Avalon and the after effects of winter has workers preparing for the summer. A $165,000 beach replenishment project is underway. The blizzard of '96 eroded 27,000 cubic yards of sand from 9th to 14th Streets. Left behind was a huge wall of sand that made the beach unsafe. Had nothing been done, city leaders would have closed the beach, something that can't happen in a town that thrives on tourism.
Well, it's especially important for this town, where the economy of this town is based on our beaches being open in the summertime.
Andrew and Irene Smakula from Woodbridge want to come to Avalon this summer. A quick look at the beach left them wondering if it would be this way in a few months.
If they replenish it and they make it so you can walk down, then that's fine. As long as we don't have to climb over rocks, and, you know, it'll be fine.
I don't know what these pipes are. You know, I'd have to check, I guess, with the real estate man to maybe he could clarify what all this means.
Over the next few weeks, these trucks will dump 1,800 loads of sand, which comes from a sand pit 12 miles away. When all is said and done, there should be 135 feet of new beach. As bad as the beach erosion is, the mayor says it could have been worse had it not been for some beach protection measures undertaken here in Avalon several years ago.
Normally, we would have lost a lot more, and we attribute mostly to the artificial reef that we put in back in 1993.
Because FEMA declared the '96 blizzard a disaster in Cape May County, the federal government will pay 75% of the project's cost. The work should be complete by Memorial Day, the unofficial kickoff to the summer season. I'm Joe Torres, Channel 6 Action News in Avalon, New Jersey.